The sky above was dark purple. The trees were tall, their branches glowing softly with blue light. Strange sounds echoed in the distance. Whispers, like the wind was trying to talk. Ethan moved slowly through the alien jungle. His boots sank into the soft, moss-like ground. Every few steps he stopped to listen. There were no birds, no insects. Just silence. A heavy, watching silence. He wasn't supposed to be here. His ship had crashed far from the main zone. Communications were down. No one knew where he was. His mission was only to collect samples, nothing more. But now he was lost. He looked at his scanner. No signal, he said to himself, frowning. Then he heard it click. He looked down. His foot had pressed something. A round symbol was glowing under the moss. Before he could move, the ground under him vanished. He didn't scream. He didn't have time. He fell. Darkness surrounded him. The air rushed past his ears. Then, with a sudden force, he landed. Not hard, not soft, but strange. Like falling into a slow wave. His body floated for a second before hitting the ground. He groaned and opened his eyes. He was inside a cage, but not like any cage he had seen before. The bars were made of light, moving slowly like flowing water. They shimmered blue and white. He reached out to touch them. Zzzt. Pain shot through his hand. He pulled back quickly. This was real. He was trapped. Ethan stood up, looking around. The floor was stone. The walls were smooth, almost metallic, with glowing lines running across them. There was no door, no window. Just the glowing cage and silence. Then he felt it. Someone was watching. A shadow moved outside the light. Slowly, it stepped forward. A tall figure, nearly 7 feet. Armor covered her body, dark and sharp, with glowing symbols on the chest. Her skin was golden brown, but her eyes were bright silver. She said nothing at first. Just stared at him. Ethan took a step back. Who are you? He asked. Still. She said nothing. Then finally, in a low and cold voice, she spoke. You are not supposed to be here. Her voice was strange, not robotic, not soft, something in between. Like 2 tones at once. I didn't mean to fall here, Ethan said, hands raised. It was a mistake. She raised her hand, and he stopped talking. You are human, she said, almost to herself. You are weak. Yet, you survived. The fall. I didn't come here to fight, he said. I'm a scientist. I was collecting samples. My ship crashed. The woman tilted her head slightly. She didn't seem to trust him. Her eyes scanned him from head to toe. Then she walked in a slow circle around the cage. You triggered the trap, she said. It was not set for you. Trap? He repeated. You mean this? She didn't answer. Ethan stepped closer to the glowing bars. Listen, I don't want trouble. If you let me out, I can go. I'll leave this place. She laughed softly. A cold, sharp laugh. Leave? There's no way out now. Ethan's stomach tightened. What do you mean? She stopped in front of the cage and looked straight into his eyes. This place, she said, is hidden for a reason. I set this trap for a dangerous creature, something ancient, something that hunts. And now I'm stuck in it, he said, frustrated. Yes, she replied, and that makes you part of the problem, or part of the solution. Ethan didn't understand. Who are you? She paused for a moment. My name, she said slowly, is Raya. That name felt heavy, powerful. Ethan looked around again. You live here, alone? No, she said, eyes narrowing. Not alone, never alone. He didn't like the sound of that. Raya took a step back and pressed a device on her wrist. The cage flickered, then turned off. Ethan stood still, shocked. You're letting me out? He asked. I'm watching you, she said. You have one chance to prove you are not a threat. He stepped out of the cage, his legs shaky. Then suddenly, the ground beneath the cage shook. A low rumble echoed from below. Raya looked down. Sharply, her voice dropped into a whisper. "It's awake." Ethan followed her, but not too close. His boots made soft sounds against the glowing stone floor. Raya moved ahead of him, silent, like a shadow. Her armor made no sound. Not even a whisper. They walked through a tunnel that pulsed with light. The walls looked alive, like they were breathing. "Where are we going?" Ethan asked. No answer. She walked faster. Ethan looked around. Strange markings covered the walls, symbols that shifted shape when he blinked. He felt dizzy. This place was nothing like Earth, nothing like anything. Finally, the tunnel opened into a large, dome-shaped chamber. High above, small blue lights floated in the air like stars. In the center was a raised platform with a glowing table. Weapons were placed carefully on it. Spears, blades, and strange tools he didn't recognize. Raya turned to face him. "Do not touch anything," she said. Ethan nodded. She moved to the table and removed part of her armor. Her shoulder was bruised, dark purple against golden skin. He noticed a long scar running down her back. He asked, "You're injured. What happened?" She glanced at him. "That is not your concern." Ethan raised his hands. "All right. Just trying to understand." "You don't need to understand," she said. "You need to survive." He took a step back. "Survive what?" Raya didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out a small cube from the table and placed it on the floor. It opened with a soft click, and a hologram flickered above it. The image showed a tall creature, black skin like oil, long limbs, no eyes, and a wide mouth full of thin, sharp teeth. Ethan stared. "What is that?" "An old enemy," Raya said. "It hunts in the dark. It moves through shadows. It smells fear." Ethan swallowed. "You trapped that thing?" "I tried," she said. "But the trap failed. You triggered it instead. And now it's awake," Ethan whispered. Raya nodded once. He looked around again. "So, what now? What do you want from me?" She picked up a small blade and handed it to him. Ethan didn't move. "I can't fight," he said. "I'm a researcher. I don't even know how to hold that." "You'll learn," she said coldly. "Or you'll die fast." Ethan took the blade with shaky hands. It was warm, as if alive. He stared at it. "Do you always speak like that?" "Like what?" "Like everything's life or death." She looked at him. Her eyes softened, just for a second. "That's because it is." She turned back to the table. Ethan sat down on a nearby rock. His head spun. How did he go from studying alien plants to standing inside a warrior's cave, holding a living blade, being hunted by a nightmare? He watched Raya as she adjusted her armor. She moved like she'd done it 1,000 times. Every action had a purpose. There was no fear in her eyes. "You've fought that thing before?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "Did you win?" She paused. "No." That one word sank into him like ice. He looked at her. "Why are you alone?" Raya didn't turn. "I wasn't always." Silence. Something in her voice had changed. A quiet pain hidden under her strength. Ethan stood up. "Listen, I'm sorry you're going through this. But I'm not your enemy. If there's something coming, let me help." She turned to face him fully now. "You're weak, slow, soft." "Thanks," he muttered. "But," she continued, "you have something strange inside you. I saw it when the trap scanned you. You are not just human." "What does that mean?" "I don't know," she said. "But the trap reacted. That means the creature will sense you too." Before Ethan could respond, the lights in the chamber flickered. Raya's expression changed. "It's here." The stone beneath their feet began to vibrate softly, like a low hum rising from the deep ground. The weapons on the table buzzed with energy. Ethan gripped the small blade tighter. Raya reached for her spear. Her voice calm, but sharp. "Stay behind me. If it sees you first, you won't have time to scream." Suddenly, a loud crack echoed. Through the chamber, the wall behind them split open slightly. Black mist oozed out like smoke with fingers. And then, a whisper. Not from Raya, not from Ethan, but from something. Watching them, found you. The jungle wasn't silent anymore. Ethan stood outside the strange chamber, the cold wind brushing against his face. Behind him, the stone door slid shut, sealing Raya inside. She had given him one rule: survive the night. That's it. No map. No food, no weapon. Except the small blade he still didn't know how to use. He looked around. The trees were tall, twisted, and glowing faintly. Their leaves moved even without wind. The air smelled like smoke and flowers at the same time. Somewhere in the distance, something howled, not like a wolf. More like a scream trapped in a deep cave. Ethan felt the weight of every step. He didn't know where to go. No path, no signal, no help. Only thick jungle ahead, and the creeping feeling that he wasn't alone. Earlier, inside the chamber, Raya had spoken without emotion. You want to prove you're not weak? The jungle listens at night. If it accepts you, you live. If not, I bury you at sunrise. Then she turned and walked away. Ethan had laughed nervously, thinking she was joking, but her face had stayed cold. Dead serious. Now, standing alone under a sky full of moving stars, he didn't feel like laughing. Ethan moved through the trees. Slowly, the jungle was alive in ways he couldn't explain. Some plants shifted when he got close. Others opened their glowing petals, revealing blinking eyes inside. A tree whispered something in a language he didn't know. He was thirsty, tired, and the ground felt like it pulsed, like a giant heartbeat under his feet. He sat down on a stone near a glowing bush. That's when he saw it. A small creature, no bigger than a cat, with 6 legs and eyes, that blinked one by one. It stared at him. Then it stepped forward. Ethan froze. The creature made a soft chirping sound, then tilted its head, as if asking a question. He held out his hand slowly. The creature sniffed it, and gently touched his palm with one tiny foot, warm, soft. Then, it hissed and ran away. Ethan turned quickly. Something was moving through the trees behind him. Heavy, slow, but getting closer. He held his breath. Leaves above him rustled. Branches moved, not by wind, but by weight. Then, silence again. Ethan gripped the blade in his hand. His palms were sweating. He took a slow step forward. Then another. Suddenly, the ground beneath him collapsed again. But this time, he landed in shallow water. Cold, sticky. He stood up quickly, soaked. The pit was full of strange roots, like fingers trying to hold him down. They wrapped around his legs, pulling slowly. He struggled, slicing at them with the blade. The roots let go with a loud hiss, black liquid spilling from the cuts. He climbed out of the pit, gasping for breath, face covered in mud. And then, he saw her. Raya. She stood silently among the trees, watching him. Arms crossed. You said I'd be alone, he shouted. I said I'd be watching, she replied. Ethan wiped mud from his face. You enjoy this? No, she said, but the jungle does. He looked around. The wind was still now. Everything had stopped moving. The jungle was listening. What is this place? He asked. She walked slowly toward him. This land was once a proving ground, she said, for warriors. To survive one night meant you were chosen. Chosen for what? She didn't answer. Instead, she pointed to his arm. He looked down, a mark glowing faintly just under his skin. A circle with a line through it. It wasn't there before. What is that? He asked, panicked. The jungle touched you, Raya said. It left something behind. Ethan's mind raced. Is it poison? A tracker? What does it mean? Raya's eyes were serious now. It means the jungle thinks you belong. Before he could speak again, a loud crack echoed through the air. A tree nearby split in half. But not by wind, not by storm. Something had slashed it clean. They both turned. The jungle had gone too quiet. Then they heard it. Not a roar. Not a growl. A voice, distant, layered, full of hunger. Found one. Raya raised her spear. Ethan raised the blade with shaking hands. But inside, something else was rising. A strange feeling in his chest. Not fear. Something stronger. The wind had stopped breathing. The jungle stood frozen, like it was waiting. Ethan stood beside Raya, eyes wide, chest tight. Trees around them had turned darker. The glow in the leaves faded to a cold blue. Shadows stretched longer than they should. Something wasn't right. Is it coming? He whispered. No, Raya said, voice low. Ethan looked at her. Her eyes weren't focused on the jungle. They were focused on him, earlier. After the mark appeared on Ethan's arm, Raya had gone silent. She didn't explain. She didn't speak. She just stared, as if looking through him. Then she had whispered something under her breath. A word not meant for human ears. A word the jungle seemed to understand. Now, hours later, the silence had returned, but it felt heavier. Ethan stepped forward, his blade still in hand. Raya, talk to me. What's happening to me? She didn't answer right away. You weren't supposed to be chosen, she said finally. The jungle doesn't accept outsiders. Not like this. Then why did it mark me? Raya shook her head. I don't know. But the last time it chose someone, the creature was born. Ethan stared at her. What creature? She didn't answer. Instead, she knelt beside a tree and touched its bark. It lit up, not with light, but memory. Images appeared above. It hazy like smoke, flames, screams, warriors falling. A black shadow rising from the earth like liquid fire. That's what we tried to trap, she said. That thing. It came from here? Ethan asked. No, she said. It came from one of us. They moved deeper into the jungle. Each step seemed louder than the last. Trees leaned away from them. The ground pulsed under their feet like it hated there. Presence. Then they saw it. A stone monolith, cracked, half-buried. Strange symbols covered its surface, the same as the mark on Ethan's arm. But one side of it had been burned. Clawed. Raya walked to it slowly, her spear low. This was its prison, she said. The creature? She nodded. It fed on fear. It listened to thought. When one of us, a warrior, became corrupted by rage, the jungle responded and gave it form. Ethan's throat felt dry. You mean it was created by emotion? Emotion, she said, is energy, and energy here listens. He looked at the mark on his arm again. It was glowing faintly, pulsing with a rhythm that didn't match his heartbeat. What does this mark want from me? Raya stared at him. Maybe it wants to wake up again. Suddenly, a scream shattered the silence, not human, not animal. A twisting, echoing sound that seemed to come from every direction at once. Raya spun, spear raised. Ethan ducked low, his blade shaking in his grip. From the trees, fog poured in, thick, black, and alive. It moved like it had a mind. Then came the eyes, dozens of them, glowing white in the fog. Watching, unblinking, but none of them looked at Raya. They were all staring at Ethan. He felt his body freeze. Not from fear, from something entering his mind. Memories not his own. Voices whispering in a language he didn't know, but somehow understood. Welcome back. He fell to his knees, grabbing his head. Ethan. Raya yelled, running to him. He looked up, eyes wide. I saw it. I saw the creature's mind, like it was part of me. The jungle trembled. Raya pulled him to his feet. We have to move, now. But Ethan didn't move. Something had changed inside him, like a door had opened. And it wasn't closing. He looked at Raya. What if I'm not just part of the solution? He stepped back. What if I'm part of the threat? Raya didn't answer, because deep in the fog, Something answered for her. A voice, not loud, but deep, inside both their minds. He remembers. The jungle was silent again, not because the threat was gone, but because it was closer than ever. Ethan sat on the edge of a broken stone, hands gripping his head. The mark on his arm burned softly, like a low fire under the skin. His thoughts were heavy, filled with voices that didn't belong to him. Raya stood a few feet away, facing the trees, one hand on her weapon, the other clenched tight. Neither of them spoke. Too much had been said without words. The fog had vanished, but it had left something behind, not in the jungle, not in the air. Inside Ethan. He finally broke the silence. You knew, he said. Voice dry. Raya turned slowly. You knew the trap wasn't just a defense, he continued. It wasn't meant to catch the creature. It was meant to test it. Her face didn't change. I didn't know it would choose you, she said. That wasn't supposed to happen. He stood up, angry now. But you used me. You left me in that jungle like bait. I had to see what it wanted. And if I had died? She looked away. Then I would have known you weren't the one. Ethan's heart pounded. He didn't know what stung more, the truth, or how calm she was while saying it. I trusted you, he said. I followed you. You said I could prove myself. You did, Raya replied. He took a step toward her. Then why do I feel like I'm part of some game you're playing? She met his eyes. Because you are. The wind picked up suddenly, cold and fast, sweeping through the trees like warning. Ethan stepped back, shaking his head. So what now? You put me back in the cage? No, Raya said. I can't. Why? Because it's already too late. Ethan looked down. The mark on his arm had spread. Thin glowing lines now ran across his chest like veins of light. But they didn't look unnatural. They looked designed. Like they belonged, he whispered. What is happening to me? Raya took a breath. Her voice softened. You're being rewritten. By what? By the jungle. By the thing we woke up. By the part of you that isn't human anymore. That word hit hard. Anymore. Ethan's hands started to tremble. I'm not changing, he said. I'm being turned into something else. She stepped toward him. You still have a choice. But he backed away. Do I? Or is that a lie too? Suddenly, the sky above them flashed. Not lightning, something worse. A pulse of light. Like a heartbeat from space. The trees bent slightly. The air became heavy. And then, a sound, low and sharp, echoed through the ground. A new voice entered Ethan's mind. Calm, cold, ancient. The cage was never yours. It was hers. Ethan turned sharply toward Raya. What is it talking about? She froze for the first time. Raya looked afraid. Ethan stepped closer. What haven't you told me? I thought it was gone, she said, her voice shaking. I thought I destroyed it. He stared at her. You didn't set the trap for the creature. She didn't speak. You set it for yourself. The ground shook violently. A tree behind them cracked and fell, roots glowing red. The jungle was waking up, and it was angry. Ethan felt something pulling at him, not physically but deep inside. Like he was connected to everything now, the trees, the soil, even Raya. He could feel her pain, her fear, her guilt, and in that moment, he understood the truth. She was not the hero. She was not the guide. She was the reason this nightmare began. Raya whispered, It's not coming for you. She turned to the shadows. It's coming for me. The jungle burned, not with fire, but with light. Strange, unnatural light that pulsed from the trees like veins, red, cold, alive. Ethan and Raya ran. Behind them, the creature moved like a shadow through fog, fast, silent, impossible to see fully. But its presence was clear. Everything around them bent away from it. Trees leaned. Stones cracked. Animals vanished. Ethan's breath was heavy. His legs ached. But he didn't stop, not because he wanted to survive, because something inside him was pulling toward the danger. They reached a clearing surrounded by sharp black stones. The ground was scorched in a perfect circle, like something massive had landed there long ago. Raya skidded to a stop, turned fast, spear ready. Ethan stood beside her, confused but alert. "What is this place?" he asked. She didn't answer. Her eyes were locked on the fog rolling in. Then she whispered, "Where I made my worst mistake." Suddenly, the fog stopped just before the black stone line, as if afraid to enter. But Ethan felt it. Watching, testing him, a voice slipped into his thoughts, smooth, curious, cruel. "You are not hers anymore," he shivered. "It's speaking again." Raya didn't move. "You have to resist it," she said. "Don't let it touch your mind." Ethan looked down at his arm. The mark was no longer just a symbol. It was moving, alive, growing. What if it's too late? She turned to him sharply. "Then fight harder." A sound cut through the air, like glass breaking inside the sky. The fog rushed forward, and with it, the creature appeared. Tall, thin, dark as space, its body shifting between form and shadow. Its face was a mask of nothing. But its voice filled the clearing. "You opened the door. Now you must come through it." Ethan stumbled back. Raya lunged, spear spinning fast, but the creature bent like smoke. Her weapon passed right through. It reached for Ethan. But before it could touch him, he screamed, not in fear, but in pain. His mark burst with light. His eyes glowed. The creature stopped, for the first time. It hesitated. Raya stared in shock. "Ethan." He dropped too, his knees, breathing hard. The mark on his chest now glowed like fire beneath his skin, burning, but not harming him. He looked up. "I can feel it," he said. "I can feel everything." He touched the ground. And the ground responded. Vines shot up from the dirt, wrapping around the creature's leg, pulling it back. It roared, not in pain, but in rage. A sound that split the sky. Raya ran to Ethan. "You've connected to the jungle. You're channeling it. How?" "I don't know," he said. "I'm not doing it on purpose." The creature tore free, rushing toward them. Raya grabbed Ethan's arm. "Stand with me," she said. "Just this once, trust me." He looked into her eyes. No lies this time. Just fear and fire. He nodded. "Let's end this." Together, they faced the creature. Raya spun her spear with trained precision. Ethan raised his hand, not to fight, but to command. The jungle answered. Roots burst from the ground. Leaves turned into blades. The air itself crackled, but the creature only laughed. "You don't even know what you are." Ethan shouted, "Then show me." The creature lunged, straight at Ethan. Everything slowed. He felt time bending, the earth screaming. Raya's voice behind him, his own heartbeat like thunder. And then, he stepped forward and disappeared. The creature struck, but hit nothing. Ethan was gone. Raya screamed, spinning, searching. "Ethan." But there was only silence, and the faint echo of a voice, not Ethan's. But inside her mind, "He's not yours anymore." Ethan was gone, not dead, not destroyed, just no longer here. Raya stood in the middle of the black stone circle, alone now. The jungle around her was silent, too silent. The fog had pulled back. The creature had disappeared. But the danger had never felt closer, somewhere far beyond the forest. Ethan opened his eyes. He wasn't in the jungle anymore. He stood on a surface made of light. No sky, no wind, no ground. Just space stretching in all directions, glowing softly. Whispers surrounded him, not voices but memories, his own. And others that didn't belong to him. A figure formed before him, not the creature, but something worse. It looked like Ethan, but taller, sharper. Its eyes burned gold, and its voice echoed without sound. "You think you are one thing, but you are two." Ethan didn't speak. He felt it, the connection, this being, was the version of him the jungle wanted. You can protect this world, the being said, but not as a man, not as something soft. You must become what they fear. Ethan looked down at his hands. Light flickered under his skin like rivers. Power, real power, but it felt cold. Back in the real world, Raya was pacing. Ethan, she whispered, come back. The vines around the circle began to wither. She dropped to her knees, pressing her hand into the soil. I know you hear me, she said. You always hear me. Inside the light realm, Ethan saw something. A vision. Raya. As a child, as a warrior, as the one who opened the cage long ago, not to trap the creature, but to free it. It was her rage, her grief, her guilt that had shaped the thing they feared. She was never your guide, the voice said. She was your mirror. Ethan stepped back. No, he whispered. She tried to stop it. She fed it. Suddenly, two paths opened before him. One, a door of stone, marked by his human memories. Home, warmth, laughter. The other, a swirling portal of light, humming with power. The path of the jungle. The path of control. And in between them, Raya's voice. Ethan, whatever they offer you, it's not worth losing who you are. The golden figure stepped beside him. She betrayed you. They all did. Walk away from weakness. Become what you were chosen to be. Ethan looked at his hands again. They didn't look like his hands anymore. He stepped toward the light. Raya's voice grew fainter. Then he stopped. He turned to the golden version of himself and whispered, I choose neither. In an instant, the entire space cracked. Shattered like glass. The light vanished. The figure screamed. And Ethan, human, flawed, scarred, returned. Raya gasped as light exploded from the center of the circle. Ethan collapsed beside her. She rushed to him, held his face in her hands. You came back, she said. He nodded. Weakly, I remembered who I was. She smiled for the first time. That's enough. Behind them, the jungle began to heal. The vines uncurled. The air warmed. The fog melted into mist. The creature was gone, or maybe it had become part of him. But he was in control now, not because he was stronger, but because he chose not to be a god. Weeks later, Ethan stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking the jungle. The mark on his arm was fading. Raya joined him, silent as always. He turned to her. What now? She looked to the sky. We guard the cage, he smiled. Together? She nodded. Until it opens again. Asterisk far below, deep in the roots of the jungle. A single red eye blinks open. Not him. Not her. Something else.